What is up, everybody? Good evening. This is Joey Jojo bringing you Chapter 5 of Umineko, Episode 1, Legend of the Golden Witch. Last episode, what happened last chapter? We met Shannon, we've met Genji again, we met Kinzo, and we also got a little introduction with Beatrice. She has a portrait in one of the hallways that Battler notices. It got a little bit spooky there with the witch owning the entire island and whatnot, but yeah, let's go ahead and start chapter 5. I believe it's chapter 5. I'm starting to lose count. Let's get started, y'all. The Ushiromia family conference was held once every year. It took place on the same weekend of October. If a normal family were to use a pretentious name like family conference, you'd expect it to be nothing more than a reunion of rarely seen relatives who greet each other surrounded by buckets of sushi. However, in the Ushiromia family, where the sons and siblings are lent great fortunes, and only those that achieve success in business are considered adults, it literally was a conference. How much of the fortune was invested? What kind of business was conducted? How much was earned? As a result, how much of the fortune borrowed from the main family could be repaid? Or alternatively, how much would be borrowed for future business ventures? What lessons had they learned, and what could they learn from their mistakes? It seemed that topics like these had been discussed very seriously in the past. My dad called it a bed of nails. Apparently, it used to be a very serious family meeting where one would commonly be showered with harsh and angry voices and even get slapped in the face despite being well past the age for it. However, that was all a thing of the past. By now, everyone had achieved success in their own independent business ventures, and it was on the road to becoming a normal yearly get-together. Even so, being asked by grandfather about the current state of play was an extremely stress-inducing event. And while to us grandchildren it was nothing more than a simple meeting, to our parents it was still a real stomachache. The absence of the man responsible for all this, whatever the reason behind it, must surely have made today's lunch even more delicious. The phrase, "when the cat is away, the mice will play," comes to mind. Well then, let me introduce Jessica's father, whose face I hadn't seen for 6 years. The man sitting to my dad's left is his older brother and the father of Jessica, Uncle Cross. So, we got another character profile here. And this is Ushiromia Cross, Kinzo's first child. Leads the family conference as the eldest of the 4 siblings. However, the other siblings suspect that he plans to claim the entire family fortune for himself, and the antagonism between him and the other grows increasingly severe. A real estate investor, he has put a vast amount of money into the development of a resort. However, his results have been harshly criticized. Okay, so a little bit of hint on him. He wants to use the family money to make a resort on the island. Supposedly, that's what he said. So, we'll go from there. This name sure is easy to read. Cross. After so many were names, it warps your sense of what's normal and you start to think, hey, what's wrong with Cross? Sounds pretty cool, actually. Just like with Aunt Natsuhi, I don't have many memories of speaking with Uncle Cross. He had never been one to talk to children, and I felt like he was always talking with the adults, just like Aunt Natsuhi. From the way my dad talked about him, it seemed that he used to be a pretty spiteful and unreasonable person. If what Dad said is true, he used to be very demurring as the oldest sibling, and was hated by Auntie Eva, Auntie Rosa, and the rest of the family. There is a fly. Okay. Odd, considering they're all having fun chatting together. Well, I guess even if their relationship was bad when they were children, sometimes when people grow up and go their separate ways, their relationship changes. That's probably what this is. I mean, yeah, I do agree with a certain extent. After all, they all have children about the same age. Since they share similar family environments, they probably all profit by exchanging opinions. Maybe because of that, the parents' circle have been deep in conversation for a while now about the exams Jessica and I are going to be taking. Jessica, in order to escape the discussion of an exam with the old bastard sitting on her left, was purposely facing to the right, ferrying off topic after topic so as not to give him an opening. Moving on, let's look at the end opposite from Uncle Cross and the others. In the very last seat of the table, an old gentleman with a sturdy physique sat facing Kiri-san. This was my first time meeting him. I had only just been introduced to him, but it seems that he's grandfather's personal doctor, a man called Nanjo. Nanjo, he was the first person that came up in the prologue. Let's see his character profile. And he's the last one to fill up the whole thing, so we got all the characters together. Nanjo Terumasa, Kinzo's attending physician and longtime friend, once ran a hospital on Najima, but turned it over to his son, and now enjoys his old age in peace. One of very few people that Kinzo trusts, now he is held captive by an unrelenting suspicion of others. Big-hearted by nature, he had maintained a long friendship with Kinzo, unperturbed by his tendency to fly into a rage at the slightest provocation. So he's like the island doctor. Apparently he used to own a huge clinic on the nearby Nijima island, but he turned it over to his son and then began living a life of leisure in his old age. He's no grandfather since the very beginning when the mansion was first constructed on this island, and they had a history going back several decades. Although he might be grandfather's companion in his suspicious hobbies, but surprisingly it seems that he's grandfather's chess partner. I'm actually going to do something. I'm going to actually raise the volume a little bit up on the dialogue voice. There we go. I'm going to do it like that. Well, I might... Let me do it with the music. Ooh, no. Let me do it for that. I'm going to do only for the voice. Okay. I see. That kind of hobby does seem like very... like our grandfather with his love of Western style. He could probably also call him the only person able to enter Rokenjima who is neither a family member nor a servant. From listening on his conversation with the womenfolk seated near him, he gave the impression of a calm old gentleman. Considering he managed to put up with our short-tempered grandfather for so long, I'm sure his big heart is nothing to laugh at. Still, even if he is a doctor, having someone from outside the Oshiume family attending the family conference is a little odd. From that fact, I imagine that grandfather's condition had grown much worse, and it may even be one of the major topics of discussion at the family conference. George Aniki was just saying it too. For the past year, grandfather had been continually pronounced as having very little time left to live. It's awful to talk about, but grandfather is an extremely rich man. At the time of his death, his wealth would suddenly be released, along with our parents' stomach acid, surely leading to some serious ulcers. With this kind of thing, the greater the number of ways it must be split, the more trouble will be caused splitting it. This kind of talk would probably also be included in the family conference. Oh well, it's not like it was having anything to do with us children. Finally, even though he's absent, let me introduce our grandfather. The person who should be sitting in that seat of honor is Oshiromiya Kinzo. It really sucks. He gave everyone else in the family these weird names, but he himself used one which is conservative as all hell. If only his name were written with the same characters for gold and vault, but he let us call him Goldsmith or something. That'd be totally awesome. As you can probably gather from all the talk about him, he's a frightening person with an extremely short temper. Because I'm just his grandkid and hadn't met him since I was in elementary school 6 years ago, I don't remember ever having been beaten by him. But it seemed that our parents were raised with an iron fist. The earlier conversation between my dad and Uncle Cross about who should go try to convince grandfather to come out seems oddly funny if you take this into account. In order to tell grandfather's story, you have to take yourself all the way back to before the Showa from 1926 to 1989 era to recount the tale of the Oshiume family. So we're about to get some backstory, some expedition. Until the Meiji from 1868 to 1912 and Taisho 1912 to 1926 eras, the Ushiromaya family was great and prosperous. They owned several spinning mills and were very wealthy people who merely had to fall about laughing while the money rolled in. Incidentally, grandfather, as a member of a branch family, originally had nothing to do with the main family. Distantly separated from the head's inheritance, he apparently had very little involvement with the head house. However, during the Great Kanto earthquake in 1923, the mansion owned by the Ushiromaya main family in Odawara was flattened. The spinning mills in Tokyo were all burnt down in a huge fire, and the Ushiromaya family lost most of its wealth and family members in an instant. It then became a matter of who would become the heir to the main family, and as it turned out, none were left except for Kinzo, who was as far removed from the main family line as they come. Kinzo himself later said that it was such good luck, it was as though fate itself had been turned upside down. With that, grandfather's ordinary life did a 180. He was entrusted with reviving the wealth that the undying Ushiromaya family had almost completely lost. Of course, just because you suddenly dump a task on someone doesn't mean that they can do squat to accomplish it. I doubt that people around him were expecting much. But this is where grandfather began to display his extraordinary talent and good luck. Grandfather used all of the family funds and everything from the hair on his head to his toenails as collateral to borrow a massive amount of money, created a gigantic supply of funds, and immediately started a business. It was like tumbling down a hill on a bike without any brakes, and then jumping onto a neighboring bike, and then another one. Just like some crazy street performance. Probably anyone would have thought that grandfather had no business ability. But with an unbelievable amount of good luck and miracles, with coincidences piling up and every chance taken advantage of, before anyone knew it, he had forged powerful connections with the Allied forces. At that time, MacArthur and the GHQ were in charge of Japan. Grandfather, in the twinkle of an eye, began succeeding in business under the protection of the occupying forces, quickly becoming very rich. At this point, it was no longer luck but information that won that day. He must have had made some seriously thick connections with the occupying forces. Grandfather knew about the emergency demands that would be made for the Korean War before they happened. No more than that, he must have foreseen these special procurements. I cannot read, y'all. I think it says procurements, and started penetrating those markets from the very beginning. History textbooks say that all of Japan made a large profit off the emergency demands for the Korean War, but that wasn't the case in reality. Only a very limited number of super rich played the money game and made an easy profit. Most of the citizens remained poor. In other words, grandfather was an extremely lucky member of this group of winners. This all happened during the year 1950, around the Showa 25, I think. And since the year of the Great Kanto earthquake was 1923 in the Taisho 12, that means grandfather was able to receive the near-dead Ushiromaya family to a level even higher than it had been before in a span of only 20 to 30 years. With that, you would think that he would revive the main family in Odawara. But for some reason, he went and did something as crazy as buying an entire small island in the Izu archipelago. Buying an entire island is not something that you can ordinarily do today. However, grandfather was clever. He contacted the GHQ and applied for the establishment of a marine resource base. He acquired this island as a business property and then regened on it and claimed it as his own plot of land. After the war, there were prevention measures against food shortage, and furthermore, he had the sponsorship of the GHQ, which meant that nobody could oppose him. It seems that Tokyo provided the land for next to no money at the time. Tokyo later made repeat complaints for the land to be returned, but not much could be done due to the involvement of the GHQ, even though they'd been pushed into it. No doubt he'd bribed everyone there was a bribe. No doubt he bribed everyone there was to bribe. Oh, okay. In the end, the city gave up in frustration. Grandfather was, with considerable skill and blessed with good luck, managed to weather the stormy seas of that period, obtaining a vast fortune and his own island. Of course, it wasn't all luck. It was skill with English, and this was cultivated by his Western obsession. It was by using that as a weapon that he was able to make inroads into the GHQ. A mansion was immediately built on the island. That would be this mansion. Grandfather, who had always loved the West, made this once uninhabitable island, Rokenjima, a canvas upon which he could realize his dreams to his heart's content. The Western mansion that he had always imagined overflowing with emotion, the beautiful garden where various roses had been planted, and a private beach where nobody other than himself would ever be permitted to leave a footprint. To have this much would be every man's dream. It would be my dream too, hell. After that, making good use of this huge fortune, he became a large stockholder in the extremely stable iron and steel industry and was able to live an easy and comfortable life just using the dividends. Well, he's just that incredible. This kind of person normally gets portrayed after the fact as having the ability to foresee and predict the future or something, but Grandfather denies all of that, repeatedly saying that he was simply blessed with extraordinary luck. Anyway, even a lord like that, with all of his dreams made real, couldn't help but grow increasingly odd when locked up alone on the island. Everyone knows he's been obsessed with the West for a very long time, but none of our parents really know when his bizarre black magic hobby began. Perhaps his love of black magic began way back when he became fascinated with the West, or possibly his miraculous stretch of good luck which allowed him to revive the family caused him to feel a mysterious power in himself. At some point, Grandfather began to make the research of black magic his life's work, filling his study up with suspicious books, chemicals, and magical items as he became increasingly bizarre. That being the few remaining years of a person successful in life, those around him warmly watched over him, feeling the time was his to spend as he pleased, or so I hear, but no way in hell that's true. They probably were just driven away, thinking that's disturbing, I don't want to get involved. Well, that war-torn period was a time for big gambles, with both opportunities at risk. I'd like to see Grandfather do so well if he'd been born in this time period. He would have had no opportunities, and would probably have advanced like a chess piece from mandatory education to college at a leisurely pace, never becoming more than an average company employee. If that had happened, he'd probably be sitting here with the rest of us, regaling us with tales of his shitty boss. No, not here. In the dining hall of the mansion, we might have been around a table at some bar. If that were the case, I'm sure that this would have been a more comfortable family conference. Alright, that's enough talk about the old geezer who won't pop off. More importantly, let's talk about this incredible lunch.
前菜の刺身のサラダで俺はすでに確信してたね。幸田さんは大したシェフだぜ。しかも魚は近海で取れたやつだろ。スーパーの刺身とはわけが違ったぜ。おいおいよせよバトラー。育ちがバレちまうだろうが。
Everyone let out a big laugh. Damn it, you say that even though you love those cheap pubs.
僕も仕事の都合で珍しいところで食事をすることもあるけど、それらと比べてもこれはかなりのものだよ。合田さんは多分その道じゃ少しは知られた人だったんじゃないかな。
よくは知らねえんだけどよ。老舗ホテルでのれん分けだか派閥の分裂だかややこしいことがあってよ。そのトラブルで辞めざるを得なくなっちまったんだってさ。それでその時偶然おふくろが使用人の求人を出してたわけなんだよ。
As Goda cleared away the empty plates, he began to recount his own eventful past, never losing his smile.
世の中というのは難しいものです。しかし、そのおかげでこうして今日、後ろ宮家で再び料理人として腕を振るう機会を賜ることができました。大勢の方の笑顔も嬉しいですが、お仕えすると決めた 限られた方々にだけ喜んでいただくために繊細なお仕事ができるのもとても楽しいことでございます。これもすべて機会をくださった奥様のおかげです。
Goda-san respectfully bowed his head toward Aunt Natsuhi.
応募のあった中でゴーダが一番腕が良かったからです。客観的判断に基づくもので市場はありませんので感謝には及びません。
Oh man, why does Aunt Natsuhi always have to speak so frankly? If only she spoke more gently, she might give off a different impression. Shannon-chan and Kumasawa-san entered from the hallway with a serving cart.
失礼いたします。
それでは本日のデザートに移らせていただきます。
Goda-san and the others laid out the beautiful adorned dessert. I guess it's true when they say you have another stomach for desserts. I thought that being fed all that delicious food had totally filled me up. But as soon as I laid my eyes on the dessert, my stomach started yelling, "More!" I don't know much about desserts, but this looked really good. A white pudding-like substance was garnished with 2 shades of red sauce, and elegant rose petals adorned the dish. That sounds really delicious, honestly. When you dine on such magnificent food as this, first it is distributed in front of everyone, and then the chef takes a moment to extol the virtues of his creation. Until he has finished, as a rule, you don't touch the food. However, Maria, who had no experience with these ceremonious rules, got excited by this beautiful and delicious-looking dessert, and jumped into that fray as soon as it was placed before her. Auntie Rosa scolded her, calling it bad manners, but George responded by saying, Now, it's alright. Wait, what? Is it George, or... Oh! Okay, cool. Okay, cool. George? Yeah, it was George, not Goda. Maria exclaimed as she sampled the 2 colored sauces.
なんだと？当たりと外れがあるのかよ。よし、俺も味見をしてやるぜ。
Apparently, the 2 sauces were one sweet and one sour. Despite it being bad manners, I also stuck my fingers in and licked it. Whoa, one of them was sour enough to make you pucker up. If it were yellow, I'd have suspected lemon, but I couldn't guess what kind of sourness would be red. I decided to ask Shannon, who was putting away the serving cart behind us.
シャノンちゃん、この酸っぱいのは何のソースだい？
Shannon hesitated to speak. Maybe she was just setting the table and doesn't really know. She's hesitating a bit much for that, though. Did I ask something wrong? Or did they use something that we'd be better off not knowing about? Like blood? No, let me stop. While Aunt Natsuhi acted as though she had a headache, Kumasawa-san, who was setting the other side of the table, began to laugh with a ho ho ho.
何の材料を使っていると思いますか？驚きますよ。
Like blood? Not just kidding.
全然わかんねえぜ。というか、熊沢のばあさんがそういう笑い方すると不気味でならねえぜ。で、何なんだよ、正体は。
内緒ですよ。お耳を拝借。
Kumasawa-san leaned across from the other side of the table. She'd asked to borrow my ears, so I leaned forward too. Their interests caught Jessica, George, Aniki, and of course Maria also put their ears closer.
この酸っぱいのはですね、実はお魚のサバの絞り汁ですよ。
サバ？
Don't be ridiculous, we all thought, horrified. Only Maria accepted it, nodding it with an uh-huh. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think that comes out of mackerels. I think mackerels are fish. Yeah, mackerels are fish. I hope they're fish. They're like little, like, sardine-looking things, I think. When Maria started clamoring that mackerels were sour, The adults were unable to contain their laughter.
違うわよ。酸っぱいのはしめ鯖でしょ。
You got it wrong, that's Vanguard mackerel. What? Auntie Rosa said to Maria in a small voice while turning red. Ah, now I remember it perfectly. Kumasawa-san was always this kind of character, wasn't she? I think I remember her tricking me about all kinds of things when I was young as well. Amongst all of them, the most painful must have been that one. That flimsy black stuff you got in Chinese food. What? That flimsy black stuff you get in Chinese food. It's talking about seaweed? Oh, kikurage mushrooms? She told me it was penguin meat, and I went all around school like a smartass telling everyone, didn't I?
熊沢のばあちゃん、相変わらずだな。マリアが信じちゃうだろ。
冗談ですよ。今からゴーダさんがソースの正体を教えてくれますからね。
Goda-san looked a little put out from having his masterpiece laughed at in such a strange way. But after clearing his throat once, he introduced the dessert to us. He fake. Goda-san, he fakes sometimes, let me tell you.
それではデザートのご説明をさせていただきます。本日はご来賓の皆様が大層お気に入りでございましたバラの庭園にちなみまして、パンナコッタをローズガーデン風に仕上げてみました。
Oh, I want a panna cotta. Oh my god, that sounds so good.
散らしてございますバラの花びらは当家の庭園より先ほど採取してきたものでございます。ソースはストロベリーとローズヒップの2色の赤をご用意しました。
Okay, so probably the sweet one is strawberry and the sour one is rose hip,
ストロ
maybe?
ベリーの甘味とローズヒップの酸味を交互にお楽しみになってください。なお花びらは観賞用となっておりますので、避けてからお召し上がりくださいませ。
I mean, I'll eat the petals too. I don't know.
それではどうぞお楽しみください。
Ah, man, I almost want to applaud before I even eaten it. It's like when you take medicine, you know, how it seems to work better when you read the instructions. Thanks to Goda-san elaborating on the details of this dessert, I feel like he's knocked it up another notch. Seriously, should you call him meticulous or just talented? The dessert was probably planned from the beginning, but he took a cue from our stopping in front of the rose garden earlier today, and displayed an incredibly timed awareness of the season by just adding a few rose petals from that garden. This combination of sweet and sour was also exquisite. If it was just sweet, you just get used to it and become bored halfway through. But by bringing in the sour sauce at that point, you get a real vivid taste. And then, once you return to the sweet sauce, all the sourness in your mouth is replaced with an enjoyable sweetness again. I'm sure everyone else felt the same way. Every time Goda-san passed by one of the seats, someone praised the taste and his creation.
いかがですか、奥様。
相変わらず見事です。お客様をおもてなしするに値します。
恐れ入ります。奥様、ご存知ですか、ローズヒップには頭痛に効く効果もあるそうですよ。奥様に特にお気に入りいただけるかと思い、特別にご用意させていただきました。
そう、ありがとう。
ほら言ったでしょ、夏日姉さん。ローズヒップは頭痛に効くって。
みたいね。聞くといいんだけど。
はあ、郷田さん、あんたには惚れるで。なあ、後であんたの待遇を聞かせてや。無理ならあんたの欲しい年収指立ててくれるだけでもええんやで。あんたの腕がこの島だけで独占されとるのは人類の食文化に対する冒涜や。その腕わしの会社で振るってお客の皆さんを喜ばせてみる気はないかのう。
秀吉さん、うちのゴーダを引き抜かれるのですか。これは困った。ゴーダの待遇をもっと良くしないと引き抜かれてしまいそうだ。
そうした方がいいわね。じゃないと引き抜かれて3食が熊沢さんのサバ料理にされちゃうわよ。
これは手厳しゅうございます。すっかり根に持たれてしまいまして。
Everyone let out a huge laugh. According to Jessica, Kumasawa-san's mackerel joke was a type of running gag, and our parents had long since gotten used to it. Kumasawa-san often claimed that mackerel contained precious nutrients that could do things such as prevent aging and make people smarter. It seems that while it couldn't stop the outward signs of aging, it helped prevent aging on the inside. Since she was still healthy enough to tell these kinds of jokes at her age, that benefit must be the real thing.
それでは失礼いたします。夕食にはふるってたくさんのサバ料理をお召し上がりいただきますので。
期待してるよ。今晩はしめサバでキュッとしゃれ込みたいぜ。
それは素敵ね。ついでに日本酒の美味しいのも出てこないかしら。
ええ、ございますよ。六軒島名物のサバ焼酎なるものがございまして。
Oh, that don't sound appetizing, to be honest. They're all still laughing at the same joke after many years. That's crazy. Kumasawa-san, together with Shannon-chan, bowed and pushed the serving cart away. Amusingly, Goda-san, who looked just as though his stock has been stolen from him, explained very seriously that tonight's dinner would actually be calf steak. Oh, now that sounds good.
熊沢さん、さっきはありがとうございました。
I had a feeling she did that because of the question Battler asked her about, like, the sauce and all that. As she pushed the serving cart, Shannon bowed her head very deeply.
なんもお礼を言われることなんてありません。
Kumasawa-san played dumb, but it was no accident that she had thrown Shannon a lifeline. Back when Battler had asked for the details of the dessert, Shannon had unfortunately hesitated. There may have been several ways to dodge the question, but all of them should have been delivered deftly. Shannon, who hesitated when hard-pressed for a response, was always suffering because of this small weakness. If only Shannon, like Goda, had a little of the craftiness needed to skillfully shake off a mistake, her days would be a little more comfortable. This weakness was especially unfortunate considering how flawless she could handle her work. Of course, there were those who well understood Shannon's meek nature and her inability to remember to gloss over her mistakes, which is why Kumasawa came to her with aid without
さ
hesitation.
っき源氏さんが午後のシフトに変更があるとおっしゃってましたよ。確かシャノンさんは夕方までお休みがもらえたと思いました。羨ましい。
すみません。シフト表を確認していませんでした。
そうそう。オーブンでこれからちょっとサバを焼こうと思ってるんですよ。できたらお休みの前にちょっと手伝ってくれると嬉しいですね。
はい。喜んでお手伝いさせていただきます。
To Shannon, Kumasawa was like a mother among the servants. Yeah, I can tell from their dynamic. The dining hall needed to be cleaned up, so we were chased out. Instead, tea would be served in the parlor. It seemed that they would be preparing the black tea that Auntie Rosa had brought for Natsuhi. Maria insisted that she also wanted to drink the black tea, but was rejected by the old bastard, who told her and the rest of us kids to go play outside.
バトラ君、みんなで表に散歩に行かないかい？
バラでも見に行ったらええ。でも天気には十分注意するんやで。空はまだ明るいが、天気予報はふるふると繰り返しちょる。
マリアは海がいい、海がいい。
あら素敵じゃない。砂浜で遊ぶなんて普段はなかなかできないものね。
そっか。よし、じゃあみんなで浜辺でも行こうぜ。
行こう。マリア、服を濡らさないようにするのよ。靴もよ。濡らさない。素直で可愛い。バトラ君、マリアちゃんの面倒ちゃんと見てあげてね。
おうよ、任せろ。おう、お前もキリエに頼まれると素直で可愛いじゃねえか。たまには俺の言うことも素直に聞いてみろよ。
へっ、
まっぴらごめんだぜ。行こうぜ、みんな。ほらほら。
The children flew out of the parlor. They were replaced by Genji, who pushed the serving cart in and prepared the black tea. The parlor was filled with a sublime aroma which entertained everyone while they waited to appease their thirst.
ルドルフのところは家族仲がいいじゃないか。良いことだ。
よせよ。兄貴のところには負けるぜ。
そうよ。ジェシカちゃん、本当に可愛らしく育ったじゃない。これも夏日姉さんの教育の賜物ね。
どうも。
Natsuhi answered coldly. With that, the conversation halted and the parlor became silent. Possibly because he couldn't stand it anymore, Hideyoshi broke the silence while performing an exaggerated gesture.
しかし成長は早いもんやで。いつまでも子供だと思っとったが、図体はみるみるでかくなり、いつの間にか大人の仲間入りや。バトラ君なんか見違えたで。
体は大きくなりましたけど、まだ子供です。うちの主人も未だに子供ですけれど。
子供と大人の境ってどこなのかしらね。私、未だに大人になったって自覚が持てない。
I understand where she's coming from because, like, I'm like, you know, I'm an adult now, but I still feel like a child inside. I don't know. It's crazy.
情けないじゃないか。
Well, screw you too, Cross.
一児の母の言うことではない。
そうね。私たちももう子供じゃない。大人同士よ。だから感情的にならず、知的な会話をしたいわね。
When Eva smiled with sharp sarcasm, everything seemed to get more tense. It felt like the smell of the tea that had been prepared so carefully just flew out the window.
知的な会話なら昔からいつも心がけているじゃないか。お前の嫌味は時に的を外している。昔から変わらない。
昔からいつもですって？あらあら。その言葉をきれいに放送して何十年か前のこの部屋に届けてあげたいわね。ねえ、ローザ。
Rosa smiled with a vague expression. Whether she agreed or disagreed, she knew that she would earn the displeasure of either her brother or her sister. It was a bit of worldly wisdom she had needed to learn as the youngest sibling.
よせよ、姉貴。ガキどもがいない間に本題に入ろうじゃねえか。それこそ知的な話よ。
As Rudolph glanced over the faces of all present, some let out a slight sigh, and some let out a small look of resignation across their face. This was the unavoidable true agenda.
去年の時点で余命3ヶ月だったんだ。ってことは、すでにマイナス9ヶ月ってことじゃねえか。いつお迎えが慌ててすっ飛んでくるかもわからねえ状態ってことだぜ。
当主様は今でも健在でおられます。このような不穏当な話を日も明るいうちからなさろうとするなど、ルドルフさんの正気を疑わざるを得ません。
だがな、夏日さん、こういうしょっぱい話はいざことがあってからじゃ遅いんや。今が元気だからこそ余裕あるうちにしとくもんなんやで。これも財産のエチケットみたいなもんや。
諸君の関心は親父殿のようじゃないか。南條先生、あなたから説明してくださいませんか。彼らもそれをお望みらしい。
Nanjo, standing by the window and staring out at the rose garden, let out a single cough when he realized that he was being called.
南條先生、お父様の具合はどんな感じなんですか？
まずはじめに、私が去年申し上げました余命3ヶ月という言葉が一人歩きをしているようですので、その訂正からいたします。
言われずともわかるわ。余命というのは あくまでも見込みであって約束ではないとおっしゃられるのよね。
さようです。ですから皆さんからたびたびお尋ねを受けますが、いつ亡くなるのかということは決して断言できないことなのです。人の命は体と心に支えられております。体が弱れば危うくもなりますが、それを補う心の強さがあれば小康状態を維持することもあるのです。
体はともかくお心はまだしっかりしていて意気健康でいらっしゃれるという。
キリエ、すまんがしばらく黙っててくれ。
ごめんなさい。
さようです。金蔵さんの体はすっかり病魔に蝕まれております。ましてやあのような強いお酒をたしなまれ続けてはとてもとても。
崖っぷちなのも酒のせい、ながらえてるのも酒のせいか。酒豪の親父らしいね。
それで先生、もちろん見込みで結構なんですけども、お父様来年の今日まではさすがにどうかしら。
当主様に対してあまりに無礼な質問です。
Natsui jumped on Eva, unable to hide her astonished expression. In response, Eva returned a defiant look, but Hideyoshi noticed and tried to smooth things over with a forced smile.
ああ、夏井さん、カニーナ。エヴァ、お前も少し言葉を選ばんか。
ごめんなさい。お父様の容体が気になって仕方なかったもので。
そうですか。それは気づきませんでした。
南條先生、聞かせてやってください。父親の寿命を気遣う娘の麗しい家族愛じゃないですか。
Cross laughed sarcastically, and Eva, smiling sweetly, returned an identical chuckle.
来年までお元気かという質問ですが、医者の私としてはとても難しい。この小康状態がまだしばらくは続くようにも思いますし、何らかの発作が来ればその時にはどうしようもないかもしれません。何しろ六軒島は孤島です。すぐに救急車が飛んでこれるわけではありません。本来ならば本土のしかるべき大病院に入院していただきたいところなのですが、
親父殿は高尚な研究を中断されたくないと仰せだ。去年無理に連れ出そうとしたのがあだになったらしい。外へ出れば病院に閉じ込められてしまうのではないかとひどくお疑いになられていてな。すっかりこのざまなのだよ。
南條先生の診察は受けておられるの？
親父殿は南條先生には心を許しておられる。機嫌が良ければ診察も受けられるようだがね。
容体を見はするが、薬を勧めようとも入院を勧めようとも本当に見るだけですがな。
お医者嫌いの方もおるもんや。しかし困ったもんだのう。
Nanjo sighed deeply. The purpose of an examination was to determine what medical treatment was appropriate. Receiving an examination and then not following the advice given made the whole thing pointless.
つまりおさらいすると、相変わらず余命は3ヶ月。瀕死のまま。あとどれだけ流らえるか見当もつかねえってことだ。
ルドルフさん、言葉を少し慎まれてはいかがですか？
ああ、すまんね。昔からこういう口の利き方なんだ。勘弁してくれ。
南條先生のご意見は分かりました。クラウス兄さんから見てどうなの？
実を言うと南條先生とは異なる意見だね。とても余命3ヶ月の重病人とは思えないというのが本心だ。怒鳴り声は相変わらず健在で、いつぶん殴られるかとヒヤヒヤしっぱなしだよ。長男にだけ親父の世話を押し付けるのは実にフェアではないね。
来世では俺より後に生まれろよ。さて話を戻そうぜ。そんなわけで 公正中立なお医者の先生の見解じゃ、いつお隠れになっちまってもおかしくない状態だ。兄貴には悪いが、ここは専門家の意見を採用させてもらうぜ。となりゃ、決して親父の財産を話し合うことは時期尚早ではないってことさ。
お父様の個人資産はおそらく数百億にも届くでしょうね。でもそれは綺麗な現金で揃ってるわけじゃないわ。お誕生会のケーキみたいに綺麗にナイフが入ってカットできるほど単純じゃないでしょ。
姉貴の例えは面白いな。そうさ、ケーキの上にはイチゴやらチョコの家やらが乗ってて、綺麗に等分するのが難しいことだってあるだろ。それを加味してどういう風にナイフを入れるのか先に相談しておくのは大切なことだと思うぜ。
それを当主様が存命のうちからさも他界なされたかのように声高に議論される皆さんの気が知れません。
あら、必要な話よ。だって遺産相続はその時点で直ちに行われなきゃならないものよ。ましてや栄光ある後宮家の財産は莫大。事前に入念な相談が必要なことはお分かりでしょうが、当家の資産はあなたのご実家とは大違いなんだから。
失礼な。私の実家は関係ありません。
As Natsuhi resentfully responded in a low voice, the really dark atmosphere grew even more hostile.
予算買えば夏日さん、堪忍な。口が悪いのは許したってな。
Hideyoshi tried to smooth things over by glancing at both with a forced smile, but it only resulted in making the hostility between Eva and Natsuhi even more intense.
これ以上はお邪魔なようですな。失礼させていただきましょう。
Nanjo rose from his seat and exited the parlor. This may well have been a normal act of courtesy expected of an outsider, but even so, his back was watched by several glances envious of his ability to escape. After the doctor had exited and his footsteps had disappeared into distance, Cross recrossed his legs.
つまりお前たちの言い分はこうかね。親父殿の余命は短い。遺産分配について早急かつ具体的な協議に入りたい。何を焦っているのかね。確かにお前たちの言う通り、後宮家の財産を算定し分配するのは簡単なことではないだろう。なればじっくりと算定すべきじゃないのかね。お前たちは今晩のうちにもケーキを切り分けたいと焦っているように見える。そうだろう、ローザ。何を焦ることがあるのかね。
焦ってるわけじゃない。でも兄弟の間での取り決めは必要。それはいつでもいいことだけれども、お父様の具合が悪くなっていてその日が近づいているというなら、先に話だけしておいてもそれは請求とは言わないと思うし。
Rosa sneaked a glance at Eva and Rudolph. As the youngest daughter in the family, being cross-examined by the eldest was harsh.
ほう、それはお前の本心かね。兄弟で一番素直で綺麗な心を持っていたお前がそんなことを言い出すとは思えんね。そこの二人に吹き込まれたんじゃないのかね。
よせよ兄貴、ローザだって兄弟だぜ。親父の遺産に公平な権利がある。関心を持つのは当然じゃねえか。親父だっていつかは必ず死ぬし、それは遠い未来の話でもない。むしろ兄貴が悠長すぎるくらいさ。まるで遺産分配から話をそらしたくて仕方がないように見えるぜ。
それはどういう意味ですか。主人にやましいところがあるとおっしゃいたいのですか。
まあ夏日さん、話は聞いておくなあれ。
兄さん、今は大変強気だそうじゃない。そうよね。去年以降空前の好景気で円は上がる一方、ドルが100円に至るのだって夢物語じゃなさそうよ。 それに与党は来年頃に保養地整備法を成立させようっていうじゃない。今や日本中のリゾート開発会社がどれだけ軍資金を集められるかって奔走してるところよ。
詳しいじゃないか。
I don't know myself because I don't know nothing they were just talking about.
これから日本には空前の好景気が訪れる。親父殿が後ろ宮家を再興した時と同じくらいの大規模な需要拡大の時代がね。日本国民は死に物狂いで働き、高度経済成長を実現して世界で一番豊かな国民となり、我が世の春を謳歌するようになった。国民の消費は増大し、それを回収できる施設があぶく銭を手にする時代になったのだよ。今や国民のニーズは3種の電化製品ではない。スキー場、ゴルフ場、総合プール、リゾートホテルにテーマパーク。数年前に開業したデルゼニーランドには行ったかね。
Are you trying not to get copyright claims?
素晴らしい遊園地じゃないか。あそこでは大人も童心に帰り家族で楽しむことができるんだ。
That is true.
かつて家族を顧みずに滅私奉公することだけが美徳だった時代はもはや終わろうとしている。我々は世界で一番豊かな国民としてようやくそれを享受できるようになったのだよ。
クラウス兄さんの読みは大したもんや。わしも数年前に聞いた時はそんなアホなと思ったわ。でもな、G5 のプラザ合意聞いてから変わったんや。円はみるみる強くなり、地価はこれから天井知らずに上がるやろ。日本が世界経済の中心になる日も遠くはない。兄さんは時代を見る目のあるお人や。それだけは間違いないで。
秀吉兄さんに同じだ。兄貴は10年越しで時代を読めてるよ。その嗅覚は親父譲りだろうな。大したもんだぜ。だが親父と違ってちょいと見通しのタイミングを読み違っちまったところはあるよな。
兄さんは必ず日本が好景気を迎えると信じてあちこちにリゾート計画を起こし、そのほとんどで失敗し続けたわ。兄さんの読み通りの時代は確かに訪れつつあるけど、その時期を読むことには失敗したわね。早すぎたのよ。そして焦って清算して結局は傷口を広げたわ。本当に嗅覚が当てになって好景気が訪れることを読めていたなら清算するわけない。これって兄さんが自分で自分の才能を信じてない証拠じゃないの？
失礼な。主人を侮辱するつもりですか？
Natsuhi's forehead creased as she rose from the sofa. Eva, paying this no heed, stared at Cross with a confident smile. Cross, who also maintained his confident appearance, told Natsuhi to sit down.
よさないか夏日。昔からこういう言い方しかできないやつだ。少し落ち着きなさい。また頭痛に触る。
兄さんに才能がない証拠は私たちのすぐ近くにもあるわよ。だって兄さん、この島をリゾート化するって張り切ってたじゃない。素敵なリゾートホテルも建てて、庭園もきれいに整備して。私は素人だから分かりかねるけど、相当のお金を使ったんでしょう。
だから何だというのですか？主人の事業はあなたとは関係ありません。
いいや、そいつは違うぜ、夏日さん。六軒島は兄貴のものじゃない。親父のものだ。もちろん建てたホテルは兄貴のものだぜ。なんなら俺たちは今夜の宿泊料を払ってやってもいいさ。な、ローザ。
それはまあ持ち合わせで足りるなら。
リゾート化できればこの島の資産価値は上がる。支出がかさんだことは事実だが、未来に大きな収穫を期待できる。そうなれば結果的にお前たちにとっても有益なはずじゃないか。
それはわかるわよ。この島の価値が上がればそれを遺産分配する時の私たちの取り分も増えるもの。 もちろん島や屋敷を4分の1ずつ切り取れとは言わないわ。それを算定したお金で解決してくれればいいだけの話よ。
そこまで分かっているなら私の事業に何の不満があるんだね。
不満じゃねえさ、不安なのさ。第一兄貴、あのホテルいつになったら開業するんだ？このままじゃ俺たちの手垢だらけになっちまうぜ。
そうよ、大切な商売道具でしょ。確かに開業するまでずっと鍵をかけておくわけにもいかないわよね。少しは使って風通しを良くしないと建物は傷んじゃうもの。でも私たちが年に一度泊まるだけのゲストハウスって言うんじゃちょっと豪勢すぎやしないかしら。ねえローザ。
Your voice is annoying sometimes.
そうね。あんなに素敵ならオープンしたらさぞや人気が出るでしょうね。
ああ、あなたが前に言ってたホテルってゲストハウスのことだったのね。
立派なもんだろう。ローザの言う通りオープンできたら人気が出るだろうよ。
The lodging that had been guided to had not been constructed with the intent of building a guest house. It was originally constructed as a resort hotel. However, even though it had been completed 2 years ago, there was absolutely no schedule for it to be opened.
兄さんのいつもの事業と同じよ。着目や企画はご立派。そしていつも途中で立ち行かなくなって何も回収できずに終わる。
この島をただ住むだけにしか使わないのはもったいないって兄貴の着眼は立派さ。そしてリゾート化してマリンスポーツやらフィッシングやらハネムーンやらを誘致して盛り上げようってのはなかなかいい絵だったと思うぜ。俺だって長男だったならこの島を何かに有効利用できないかと頭をひねったに違いないさ。
でももう出来上がってから2年も経つのよ。2年経って未だに開業のめどはつかないの？任せてる管理会社はどこ？
失敬な。それは主人の手落ちではありません。主人の仕事を請け負う会社間でトラブルが生じているだけで、うちはあくまでも被害者です。
しかしな、クラウス兄さんが任せてる例のとこあまりええ噂は聞かんで。
はっきり言ってあげなさいよ。不払い横領トラブルで計画が空中分解しちゃったって話、私たちの耳に届かないとでも思ってる？裏も取れてるんだから。
何の裏だか存じませんが、事実無根です。観光業への新規参入には方々への根回しが必要になります。相手が信用に足りるかを測ることも大事です。それに手間取っているだけに過ぎません。
ホテルの完成が早すぎて勇み足になったことは認めよう。だが維持費がかかってるわけじゃない。やがて大きな意味を持つ布石だ。
嘘つけよ。生産したくても売れないだけだろ。観光ルートの確立してない何もない離島にやたら豪華なホテルなんて買い手がつくわけもねえさ。それに事業に集めた融資はどうなってんだよ。
維持費はかからんでも返せん借金は膨らむ一方や。すまんがクラウス兄さん、この島の開発計画の話ちょいと調べさせてもろたんや。正直こっちもええ話は聞かへんのや。
秀吉さん、確かに今の財政状況だけを見たらそういう印象を持たれるかもしれない。だがこれは先行投資なのだよ。その読みを誤りこれまでに多くの負債を生んでしまったことは認めざるを得ない。だがようやく時代が私に追いついた。これまでに失った分はすぐに取り戻せる。いや、それどころかこれまでの投資だってやがては私のもとに戻ってくる。そう例えるなら放った稚魚が鮭となり肥えて帰ってくるようにね。
それは認めるで。これからリゾート業界は空前の好景気を迎えるやろ。 これまでの負債を埋められるほどかはわからんが、だがなクラウス兄さん、これまで散々負け続けた兄さんがどこから軍資金を調達したっていうんや。それも半端ない軍資金や。あれだけの穴を埋められる軍資金やで。
秀吉さんは何をおっしゃいたいのですか？
ああ、夏樹さん、ほんま怒らんといてえな。わしらも調べたんや。これまで負け戦続きのクラウス兄さんに最近の強気な莫大投資を支えられるほどの融資を誰ができたんか。
結果いねえんだよ。そんな後ろ盾は弱り目と逆に張るのがマネールーレットの鉄則だ。兄貴はこの界隈じゃちょいと知られた弱り目さ。確かに時代は好景気を迎えようとしているが、これまでの兄貴の失敗等を天秤にかけて、その上で融資に値すると思う連中がいるのかって言ったら誰
ならねえ、そのお金をどこから調達したのってことになるのよ。
ほう、興味深い話じゃないか。それで
あなた、このような暴言をいつまで放置されるつもりですか？
座れよ夏日さん。単刀直入に言おう。兄貴は親父の個人資産を自分の事業に流用してる。これはほぼ間違いねえ。これが俺たちの誤解だってんなら、どうかぜひそれを解いてもらいたいもんさ。
ルドルフ、流用なんてもんじゃないわよ。これは横領よ。刑事告発できる立派な犯罪なんだから。
無礼極まりない。仮にも後宮本家跡継ぎの後宮クラウスに向かって信じられない暴言です。
暴言じゃないわよ、図星でしょ。なんとか事業を成功させてこれまでの損失を埋めたいんだけど、その穴は広がっていく一方、博打の穴をさらに大きく張った博打で埋めたいだけよ。その軍資金がすぐ近くにあったなら手をつけるのは道理。はっきり言うわ、兄さんがしているのは横領よ。お父様に対する裏切りよ。しかるべき決着がついた後には司法に委ねることになるでしょうね。そんな輩に後宮本家跡継ぎを名乗らせるとお思い？
湯にこと書いて、当主様への裏切りとは聞き捨てがたい。この栄光ある後宮家の敷居をまたぐ資格はもはやあなたにはありません。即刻ここを出て行きなさい。さあ、ほら。
Natsuhi, who had already reached the limits of her anger, shouted at Eva in a rage. She then pointed alternatively at Eva in the hallway, indicating that she should leave. Eva took out a folding fan and fanned herself with it, glaring maliciously at Natsuhi as though silently daring her to repeat what she said. However, her mouth was still smiling, curved in the shape of a crescent moon. In that unpleasant silence, Rosa gulped.
ねえ、夏日姉さん、誰に向かってそんな口をお聞きなの？
無礼極まりない主人の妹に対してです。これ以上は私も本家の台所を預かる者として聞き捨てなりません。
台所を預かる？黙るがいい、この名ばかり女房が。
Eva folded the fan with a snap and rose powerfully. Compared to the elegance and playful behavior she had shown until just now, she was unimaginably aggressive.
バカバカしい、お前が下がりなさい。この後宮エヴァに。当主様の左肩を許されている後宮家序列第3位のこのエヴァに下がれと？身の程を知りなさい。そしてお前のそのみすぼらしい姿を鏡に映してみるがいい。 お前の服のどこに翼が？どこに片翼のわしが許されているのか。貴様など後ろ宮家の跡継ぎを残すためだけの存在じゃないの。身の程をわきまえるがいい、このゲス女が。
Damn, that's harsh. While Eva's face grimaced unattractively, her words pierced Natsuhi's heart like claws and painfully twisted in. There were 100 ways Natsuhi wanted to respond. However, her anger and sorrow crushed her throat, and not one of them managed to make it to her mouth. The anger, which had lost any place to go, became a single hot tear which slowly dripped down.
何か言い返したいならどうぞ言い返しなさいよ。ほーら。
Eva faced her with a provocative gaze. However, Natsuhi's fist was shaking. She trembled all over, unable to do anything. Cross quietly broke that powder keg tension.
夏日、席を外しなさい。頭を冷やすといい。
Natsuhi, resenting the fact that her husband had not come to her aid, shifted the focus of her attack.
あなたはさっきから何を言われているのか分かってるんですか？この人たちは言うにこと書いてあなたのことをお父様への裏切り者呼ばわりしているんです。私たちが後宮家の栄光を守り、お父様からそれを受け継ぐため日々高潔であろうとする全ての努力をないがしろにして踏みにじる、なんという聞きがたい暴言。あなたもあなたです。どうして言い返さないんですか？あなたが言い返さないから私が言い返しているのに、さっきからあなたは私に任せっきりで、その私に頭を冷やして来いなんて言うんですか？いつも私ばかり。私はいつも真剣にこの家のことを考えているのに、それは
Natsuhi could no longer hide her tears. She flew from the room in that state. After that, all that remained was a somewhat embarrassed mood about the parlor. When the sound of footsteps grew distant and silence returned, Cross shrugged his shoulders slightly.
妻が失礼した。昔から感情を抑えるのが下手でね。私も苦労している。
あんなのに切り盛りされてたんじゃ、兄さんも気苦労が絶えないわね。
奥様。
何でもありません。下がりなさい。
Natsuhi flew into her room and bent over the bed, wailing. Those heart-wrenching sobs reached Kumasawa in the hallway.
おいたわしや奥様。奥様とエヴァ様は犬猿の仲。このお二人の関係を説明するのは、女の私にはとてもしんどくございます。後宮家は血を特に重んじられますが、嫁いで家を出れば本来は序列から除籍されます。ですからエヴァ様も本来は秀吉様とのご成婚の際に除籍。ところがこれは誰のせいでもありません。ましてや奥様のせいであろうはずもありません。神様の気まぐれとしか言いようがありません。クラウス様と夏日様にはなかなか子宝が授からなかったのです。何しろ男尊女卑の後宮家でございます。妻は跡継ぎを残すための道具。その妻が唯一の役割を果たせないのなら、もはや人間扱いなどされません。当時の奥様が親方様からどれほど責め苛まれていたか思い出すのも苦しゅうございます。そんな中、エヴァ様に秀吉様とのご結婚の話が持ち上がりました。エヴァ様は狡猾でした。奥様がいつまでも身ごもられないことにつけ入って 親方様に取り入ったのです。入り婿を取って自分が跡継ぎを産むと吹き込み、ご自分の席を後宮家にとどまらせるよう認めさせたのでございます。後宮家に嫁ぎ外様扱いの奥様と入り婿を取る形で血族として残ったエヴァ様は、後宮家の序列の中では雲泥の差。しかもエヴァ様は先にそれも男児をご出産されております。どれほど奥様の立場がエヴァ様の前で弱いものであったか、奥様にとってはもし自分がすぐに解任することができれば、エヴァ様の入り婿など親方様に認めさせずに済み、今日のエヴァ様の増長を許さずに済んだだろうという悔しい気持ちがあるに違いありません。しかしそれは奥様のせいであろうはずもない。すべては気まぐれな神様とジェシカさんをお届けすることが遅れたコウノトリのせいなのでございます。だからといって奥様にはそうと割り切れるはずもない。ただただ妻としての責務を全うできなかったことに、女として悔し涙をこぼすしかできないでしょう。はあ、老いたわしや。私には何もできず、こうして物陰から見守ることしかできないのです。
Well, that was the end of chapter 5. I hope y'all enjoyed. We saw the family talk about the inheritance. Well, not really the inheritance much, more or less like the head of the family, his state of like when is he going to pass away, all that stuff. So it got a little bit tense. We kind of saw Eva and Natsuhi's relationship and how like Natsuhi's treated in the family because of her family and not her family, but about her not being able to give birth fast enough into a guy to gain the heir of the family. So yeah, that's the end of the video. If you like the video, please like, subscribe, and comment for more content along the way. And I'll see y'all next time.